Russia has just deployed a hypersonic weapon system that military analysts are calling a potential game changer in modern warfare. According to recent intelligence reports, this new weapon can reportedly evade every single NATO defense system currently in operation. We're talking about a weapon that could reach London, Paris, or Washington, D.C. in minutes, not hours. And here's what has defense officials truly concerned. There may be no way to stop it. Stay with me as we break down exactly what this means for global security and why NATO is scrambling to respond. The weapon in question appears to be Russia's latest iteration of their hypersonic missile program, likely an advanced variant of the Kinzhal or the newer Oreshnik system. Russian military sources claim this missile travels at speeds exceeding Mach 10. That's over 7,600 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, traditional ballistic missiles give defense systems minutes to calculate trajectories and intercept. This weapon gives them seconds. According to Russian Defense Ministry announcements from last month, the system has completed its final testing phase and entered active deployment. The development timeline shows Russia has been working on this technology since 2018, with accelerated testing beginning in 2022. What makes this particularly concerning is the weapon's reported ability to change course mid-flight, something that renders current predictive defense algorithms essentially useless. Russian officials claim successful tests have demonstrated pinpoint accuracy at intercontinental ranges, though independent verification of these claims remains limited. Here's why NATO defense officials are losing sleep over this development. Current NATO missile defense systems, including the Patriot, THAAD, and Aegis systems, were designed to intercept traditional ballistic missiles that follow predictable parabolic trajectories. Hypersonic weapons don't play by those rules. They fly at lower altitudes, can maneuver unpredictably, and their speed compresses decision-making time to mere minutes. This represents a fundamental shift in deterrence theory. For decades, the concept of mutually assured destruction relied on both sides having effective second strike capabilities and defensive systems that could provide some level of protection. If one side can strike with near impunity while the other cannot, that balance collapses. The implications extend beyond military strategy to existing arms control frameworks. Treaties like New START were negotiated with traditional delivery systems in mind. Hypersonic weapons exist in a gray area that current agreements don't adequately address. We're potentially looking at the most significant shift in global military balance since the advent of nuclear weapons themselves. NATO's response has been measured but clearly concerned. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg recently stated that NATO is closely monitoring these developments and adapting our defensive posture accordingly. Behind closed doors, sources suggest a more urgent tone. With accelerated funding for hypersonic defense research, the US Pentagon has acknowledged defensive gaps that need addressing. From Russia's perspective, this deployment is framed as a defensive necessity. Russian officials argue they're responding to NATO's eastward expansion and the deployment of missile defense systems in Eastern Europe. President Putin has consistently claimed that Western defensive systems threaten Russia's strategic deterrent, making hypersonic weapons a logical countermeasure. Independent military analysts offer a more nuanced view. Experts like those at the International Institute for Strategic Studies suggest the actual capabilities may be less revolutionary than claimed, noting that hypersonic weapons still face significant technical challenges, including heat management and guidance systems. However, even skeptical analysts acknowledge that the psychological impact alone shifts strategic calculations. Allied nations show varying levels of concern. Eastern European states are pushing for immediate countermeasures, while some Western European allies advocate for diplomatic engagement to prevent an arms race. NATO isn't sitting still. The alliance has fast-tracked several hypersonic defense programs, with the US leading development of next-generation interceptor systems. Reports suggest NATO defense spending discussions scheduled for early next year will prioritize hypersonic countermeasures, potentially requiring significant budget increases from member nations. We're also seeing accelerated cooperation between allies. The US, UK, and Australia's AUKUS partnership has expanded to include hypersonic research, while European nations are pooling resources for continental defense systems. Diplomatically, there are quiet discussions about new arms control frameworks that could address hypersonic weapons, though Russia's current international isolation makes meaningful negotiations unlikely in the near term. Intelligence estimates suggest NATO's defensive capabilities could be operational within 3 to 5 years, but that timeline assumes continued funding and no major technical setbacks. This brings us to the critical question. Does this represent a genuine shift in military balance, or is it strategic messaging designed to project strength? The truth likely lies somewhere between Russian claims and Western skepticism. What's your take? Should NATO prioritize developing defensive systems to counter these weapons, or focus on offensive hypersonic capabilities of their own? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is exactly the type of evolving geopolitical situation we track closely here at World Geopolitics News. If you want to stay ahead of developments that could reshape global security, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. These stories develop fast, and understanding them early gives you the strategic insight others miss.